They say money moves the world, but once, there was a family who moved the money itself. Long before Wall Street ever mattered, 5 brothers in 5 cities quietly built an invisible empire, an empire that could decide the fate of nations without ever firing a single shot. Their name was Rothschild. In the early 1800s, Europe was a chessboard of kings and wars, and the Rothschilds were the hands moving the pieces. By the time Napoleon fell, they had already become richer than most monarchs. But to understand how this dynasty rose from the cramped ghettos of Frankfurt to the marble halls of London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and beyond, we must start not with gold, but with grit. Because the Rothschild story doesn't begin with power. It begins with a man called Mayer Amschel Rothschild, a coin dealer with nothing but a dream. Frankfurt, 1760s. The Judengasse, the Jewish quarter, was narrow, crowded, and suffocating. Every evening the gates closed to keep its residents locked inside. In that tiny world, young Mayer Amschel studied ancient coins and old ledgers by candlelight. He didn't have wealth, but he had knowledge. And in a world built on kings and credit, that was more dangerous than any weapon. He understood something others did not. Money wasn't about gold. It was about trust. So he began lending money to nobles, carefully earning their confidence. One of them was a powerful man, Prince Wilhelm of Hesse. Through that connection, Mayer Amschel became the official banker to royalty. And that single alliance became the foundation stone of one of the greatest fortunes in history. But Mayer had 5 sons, Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Karl, and James. And his true genius was not what he built, but what he taught them. He told them, "Act together, think as one, and never forget, our fortune lies in unity." He sent each of them to a different European capital. Nathan went to London, Salomon to Vienna, Karl to Naples, James to Paris. Amschel stayed in Frankfurt to keep the center strong. 5 brothers, 5 cities, one invisible network. And while kings ruled their nations with armies, the Rothschilds ruled them with credit. In London, Nathan Mayer Rothschild was unlike any banker before him. He moved fast, took bold risks, and spoke little.
Rothschild profits from war.
He understood that in finance, information was power, and whoever got it first won. So he built his own network of couriers, riders, and messengers, faster than any government post. When news of Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo broke, Nathan's agents brought the message to London before anyone else. Legend says he used that information to make a fortune on the stock exchange, quietly buying bonds when everyone else was selling. True or exaggerated, one thing was certain. Nathan had proven that the Rothschilds didn't just play the game, they created it. They underwrote loans to entire governments. When kings went to war, they borrowed from the Rothschilds. When nations rebuilt, they borrowed again. The brothers were not just bankers, they were architects of modern capitalism. Their letters, written in code, flew daily between the 5 cities. They spoke a language of numbers, symbols, and trust. No one outside the family ever understood it. The Rothschilds didn't need armies or thrones. They had something far more powerful, the ability to make or break empires with a pen stroke. But great power never comes without shadows. By the mid-19th century, whispers spread across Europe. Who truly rules the continent, people asked. Was it the crowned heads of Europe, or the men behind the ledgers? The family's wealth became mythic. Caricatures and conspiracy theories painted them as puppet masters of the world, shadows pulling the strings of kings. Some said they caused wars to profit from them. Others believed they controlled the markets, the press, even revolutions. But behind the myth was a more subtle truth. They didn't create chaos, they managed it. Because the Rothschilds understood what few ever did. Money flows where there is stability. And if stability didn't exist, sometimes it had to be engineered. They funded the construction of railways across Europe, steel arteries of commerce that tied nations together. They backed the Suez Canal, connecting East and West. They helped finance peace treaties, rebuild nations, and rescue monarchies from collapse. And yet through all this, they remained private. Their homes were palaces, but their faces rarely appeared in newspapers. They preferred silence to spectacle, control to fame. It was said that while kings sat upon thrones, the Rothschilds sat above them. But history changes even for dynasties. As the 20th century dawned, new forces rose: corporations, governments, and wars that were too vast even for one family to contain. Their influence began to fade into the background, still immense, but no longer absolute. Banks modernized, markets globalized, and secrecy became harder to keep. Yet the Rothschild name endured. It became a symbol of ambition, of intellect, and of the invisible power that money can wield. Their descendants still sit at the tables of finance, art, and philanthropy, quiet but ever present. They no longer rule empires, but their legacy remains etched into the architecture of the global economy. Because the Rothschilds didn't just build a fortune, they built the blueprint for modern finance itself. Today, every wire transfer, every bond, every cross-border loan carries a faint echo of what they started centuries ago. A family from a locked ghetto who rose to unlock the world's wealth. The Rothschild story isn't just about money, it's about vision and the invisible ties that bind nations together through trust, secrecy, and strategy.
They didn't just build a fortune, they built the system.
They prove that sometimes the greatest power is not seen, but felt in the quiet turning of the world's financial gears. And as the centuries pass, one truth still lingers in the shadows they left behind. Empires rise and fall, kings come and go, but money remembers its masters. Every empire is written in stone, every dynasty in gold, but some, like the Rothschilds, write their legacy in silence. From the flicker of a candle in Frankfurt to the glow of a banker's lamp in London, their story is a reminder that the greatest fortunes aren't just earned, they're engineered. This is Wealth Untold, where every fortune hides a story, and every story hides a lesson.